At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right. From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you. Visit Blinds.com now for up to 40% off site-wide, plus a professional measure at no cost. Rules and restrictions apply.
Hey nerds, welcome to The Paper Fold. I am your host Sarah, the Paper Nerd, and I'm so glad to be back nerding out with you on my favorite topic, stationery. You have most likely seen and possibly even purchased the uplifting, inspiring, and heartfelt greeting card designs of my guests today, and not even known it. For the past 24 years, Vicky Barone has been quietly licensing her designs to larger card brands like Papyrus and American Greetings. While she has stayed behind the design curtain for the most part, her thousands of cards have generated millions of dollars in products sold. Now Vicky has officially entered the stationery spotlight solo with her own brand, Barone and Company. And while it's a huge shift, it's also an enormous creative opportunity. And speaking of creative opportunities, that brings me to my very special sponsor, Avanti Press. This all-American house of cards is hosting this fall's Greeting Card Association Card Conference in Detroit, Michigan. For those unfortunately not immersed in GCA culture, every host takes it upon themselves to truly welcome the greeting card community to their city, as we saw in recent years with Lean and Tree in Boulder, Hallmark in Kansas City, and yes, American Greetings in Cleveland. The Avanti team has some rather large shoes to fill then, but if anyone can take it to the next level, this crew can. While all my listeners know by now that my previous guest, Anna Bond of Rifle Paper Company, is speaking at the conference, Vicky told me right after we recorded that she's attending too. So don't sit at home feeling the FOMO while others are hobnobbing at the stationery event of the year. Secure your spot by visiting greetingcard.org and clicking on events, then Greeting Card Conference, and stay tuned for Vicky right after this. Hey nerds, it has been a hot minute since I filled you in on all things new with that fantastic and fantastical LA-based brand, Girl with Knife. After all, this cutting-edge California house of design has trailblazed its way through paper goods, home decor, and yes, even house designs since the incredible creative powerhouse Alicia Castaldi founded it in 2018. You'd be blind not to note the innate glamour of every last larger-than-life Girl with Knife creation, but beneath each one, there also lies an honesty and simplicity that comprises its true design strength. That distinctive quality is typically born on a Girl with Knife greeting card, carefully brought to life slice by slice with Alicia's trusty X-Acto blade. Now, greeting cards themselves are a deceptively simple product category. A card can bridge both physical and emotional distances. They can share messages we don't know quite how to articulate on the phone or in real life, and these messages endure forever. Alicia understands this distinctive magic, and it's evident in spades in her 19 newest card releases. I just reviewed them while editing the summer issue of Stationery Trends, and they legitimately knocked my socks off. Spanning occasions from every day to the holidays, they are so good. I want you to be captivated by them for yourself, so I'll just dish on a few faves. We Are So Connected depicts a white charm bracelet on a black background, but somehow it effortlessly reflects and enhances our closest relationships. Like most of Alicia's work, the design is informed by a fabulous backstory, echoing both how she and her close friends speak to each other, as well as their respective artistry. Believe it or not, one makes charm jewelry that all the others wear. This card's personal origins really make it resonate, just like Girl with Knife's hot-off-the-press Father's Day card, a reflection of Alicia's own eternal adoration for her late father and what she describes as his outlaw spirit, of course. Presented on a sleek black backdrop with white lettering, the copy starts out, "My father, my hero," and rest assured, it will be in the hands of some of the most appreciated fathers this year. Perhaps yours? This card is a forever keeper, and there are 17 other equally mesmerizing card releases, each a mini masterpiece showcasing fresh finesse from this Louis Award-winning Artist of the Year. Meanwhile, design elements find their way from greeting cards onto other Girl with Knife creations. Maybe it'll be a new ultra-thick gift wrap, or perhaps a Luke's candle that incorporates fabulous scents into the design mix. And that, my paper nerd friends, is why Girl with Knife is your BFF in paper goods and home decor. So head on over to girlwithknife, all spelled out, .com and immerse yourself. I just know your spirit will be elevated. Meanwhile, if you are in the trade, shop this top shop brand sensation exclusively on Faire 24/7. I guarantee your stationery, as well as your living and workspaces, will slay. Vicky, welcome to the Paperfold.
Hey, Sarah. I'm so happy to be here.
So you're a prolific artist. You've literally licensed thousands of your designs for greeting cards and stationery for the past 24 years, nearly a quarter century, with millions of dollars in products sold. Now you have transferred that hard-won savvy and talent into your own brand, Barone & Company. What fueled your desire to launch your own house of stationery, and how long were you thinking about it before your official 2025 launch?
Well, I think that I've been licensing my work to a number of different licensing partners, again, for way longer than I really like to say out loud. But I think that when COVID hit and the retail traffic changed, like some of the licensing business changed because licensing partners were trying to, figure out what was next, like just as the world kind of was. And so there was like a pause kind of in work in general. Mm-hmm. What happened was it caused me to kind of pause and look at my own career and look at the content that I created over time. So I spent a lot of time cataloging, I guess, the amount of work and the ideas that I had. For every idea that was published or licensed with a partner, I had 10 more that I thought were good, but just didn't fit into their production schedule for whatever reason.
Right. So, and that's yours. The work you license belongs to the vendor or the company, the publisher, but you come up with 10 ideas for, a get well, the other 9 are yours, is what you're saying. I know you were going, can you say who you licensed your work to?
I was an exclusive artist from 1999 until 2022 with Recycle Paper Greetings, which is a brand now of American Greetings. But, I started with them when they were owned by like the original founders. And then, they went through a number of different ownership changes between the time I started working with them and, now. So, they were bought by private equity, then they went to American Greetings. And then I know American Greetings has gone through some ownership changes as well. So, but I've continued to be an artist for that brand. So they were my key licensing partner for a number of years because I was exclusive to them in the green world. Mm-hmm. So, and since then, I've started working with RSVP, Sellers Publishing, in-house greetings. In the very beginning, I worked with Papyrus, which,
wow, golden.
Around, Papyrus became part of Recycle Paper Greetings, like under the AG brand. So, and through the years, I've worked with, many different art directors and art teams to develop products and programs to be in large retailers nationwide.
Right. And that is such valuable fodder when starting your own brand, to have sat in these rooms for this many years, hearing people say, well, this is selling here, we need this and that, that sort of thing. I feel like that kind of knowledge is, so precious in launching your own brand. Like, you clearly have the creative chops, but, really have learned so much in the past 25 years. I'm so sorry to interrupt you. Please. It just occurred to me that some of my listeners might not understand some of the machinations that go on behind the scenes. So, but you were saying that you would have a lot of extra art, and so please continue.
Yeah, it's okay. So I took a step back and I cataloged all the artwork that I had on my local machine here, and I took a step back and I thought about there's a lot of content here that I still really believe in, messages that I still think would resonate with a large audience. Like, what if I started to consider printing or publishing my own work? And so it took about 2 years or so for me to consider what would that look like? And because I've been licensing for so long, while I've tried on a lot of different looks and feels, I haven't necessarily developed an absolute signature look that I always create. But I think that that's what's allowed me to be and stay successful in the licensing world for so long, because I haven't married like my work to one specific look and feel that may or may not weather the test of time. So I've been able
Very
to
interesting.
like stay up with like how people are communicating. Like when I look at my work from like the early 2000s, let's say, and then I look at my work like now, yes, some of the underlying messages still resonate, but some of the way that those messages are delivered have changed, right? So I took a step back and I looked at all the work that I'd done, and it's a huge amount of work, like thousands and thousands of designs. I cataloged them digitally on my own, and I started looking at them, and I was like, well, this is a whole line in and of itself. I mean, I was like, what do I do with this content, or what is the next phase in my career, in my path here? And sure. I think you're right. I think that I've learned a lot about the kinds of messages that resonate with people, and the real subtle ways that people start to communicate with each other and want to, share heartfelt or, funny moments. And it's a weird skill set, right? Like, what does that translate to? And I was like, well, if I can't, I continue to work with all my licensing partners as well. So, but what this has done for me is it opens up another avenue for me to step into that creative director role. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And that's not something I haven't been able to do necessarily. I mean, I have when I develop like collections, like within retailers, but when I'm pitching one design here and one design there, I didn't necessarily have the ability to be the creative director to like really see my full vision come to fruition and sure. Collection. So, but I've learned that over time. Like, when I did develop collections for like major retailers, mm-hmm. I learned how to balance a line, like how to balance like a set of, let's say, 18 cards, so that one card doesn't compete with another card, that they don't all look the same, that there's enough variety within the line. There's a number of different voices and different graphic styles to make it interesting enough, but still make it hang together.
Right. I feel like so many people develop a range and it's like they've looked at every card and they've really made each like a little masterpiece, but they've never considered how they all look together, and that can be really challenging.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just takes iteration, right? Like it takes, I mean, I literally sit like and I look at it like over like weeks, and there's too much of this color, there's too much of this voice, there's too many, like when you think about the audience, you think about who's going to approach this, like who's your target audience for this line? Mm-hmm. Like, are they finding what they need like within your offering? And that's balancing a line, I think, is a really hard thing to kind of learn how to do, right? Because it becomes even more difficult when you only have one look, which is what I think I can bring to the table. Like I can create a lot of different looks, I guess,
right. All with the, baseline of like, I'm helping connect people maybe on a good during a good time, maybe during a not so good time. Hey nerds, just popping in for a July Paper Baristas update. Many of you will recall its dynamic founder, Christy Asper. She was my guest on episode 56 of this podcast. Christy is also the founding sponsor and the inspiration for my Nerd Nodes segment. This all-American house of stationery brews paper goods to do good with an eco-conscious, fair trade business model and philosophy that drastically differs from that of pretty much every other stationery and gift brand I've encountered. While many of you know that every last Paper Baristas offering has literally been upcycled from what would otherwise be thrown out, that's only part of the story here. Since its founding in 2019, 10% of all Paper Baristas profits have been donated to the International Justice Mission to fight human trafficking. Please join me in congratulating Paper Baristas for achieving the fantastic milestone of donating over $30,000 to fight modern slavery. I cannot even imagine how many people's stories were changed for the better forever from this brand's efforts. Meanwhile, another important element of this brand's philosophy is that fair trade and eco-friendly products should be accessible to all. So while Paper Baristas recycled, biodegradable, handmade, and wood-free paper feels incredibly luxurious and posh to the hand, it is affordable to the wallet too. Shopping this vibrant brand is such an easy, uplifting way to honor our planet as we fill in that planner or send that get well card. With that said, it's not too surprising that this family-owned brand is a 4-time finalist in this year's Louie Awards. Like the Grammys for music or the Academy Awards for film, this program has been honoring the best cards for over 30 years. I've been involved with this program since 1997, and every year the competition gets more competitive. Clearly, Paper Baristas has struck a most resonant chord with paper nerds across the board. While the Louie Awards Gala isn't until the end of July in a couple weeks, seeing paper baristas rise to the top in this year's finalist pool underlines the vital importance of the brand's ethos to put people and the planet before profits. Every product blends recycled and upcycled elements. The thick handmade paper itself is created using pollution-free methods such as sheets that are sun-dried, conserving energy usage, and it's chemical-free, protecting our waterways. Thus, it is no exaggeration to say that every last paper barista's offering is a labor of planetary love to bring into the world. Every card is available folded or flat with deckled edges. There are endless undated planners, notebooks, and journals from which to choose. They recently introduced plantable seed paper gift tags and ornaments, as well as seeded gift bags, and every last home good is a thoughtful heirloom in the making. So, if you are a paper nerd in the wild, start your caffeinated stationery journey at paperbaristas.com. And if you're in the trade, make sure to shop this top shop during the Fair Summer Market, July 22nd through the 24th. There will be new seeded gift bags, tea towels, and Swedish dishcloths, and they will begin wholesaling their incredible paper sheets that I just raved so much about. However you bring this brand into your life, be sure to tell Christy that Sarah sent you. And, as you were talking about, the changes over the past 24 years, I was thinking, excuse me, the needs of generations change. And to some people, sending a greeting card, like it could say thinking of you, and they just sign their name in it and send it, to some generations, to younger, a millennial, say, or a Zoomer, that thinking of you spurs like an incredibly heartfelt message where they're, pouring their heart out. That one card has to serve both needs. And that's a huge challenge. It looks very simple on the surface, but I think it's, there a lot more goes into it than most people give credit for.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's tough, especially when you're trying to, like you said, like fill the need for all the different audience. I mean, obviously, if you're thinking like, hey, I want a millennial thinking of you card, then you can get like language specific to that. But if you're trying to hit millennial and boomers and everybody in between, then it gets a little more challenging, right? Totally. I think that like in the early parts of my career, the things that were really successful were very straightforward, heartfelt messages.
Yes.
I mean, flowery, but things that people may have a hard time saying themselves, right? Like, but not so specific that it's like, it's like real specific, like, somebody with a specific type of dog, or like somebody that's a specific age, or, so you have to kind of develop content that's like universally applicable, right? Like things that people can relate to, that feel really relatable, but can relate to like a broad audience, right?
Yeah.
It feels like they're speaking to you, but So you kind of have to distill down, like, as I go through my day, especially when you're figuring out, like, humor is also very difficult to write for, I think, right? Like, I mean, there's always the low hanging fruit for like, hey, I can do this pun that's been done 50 million times in just my own way. But like, everybody's doing puns, and like, everybody can do puns, but what can you do to make, what can you do to make it one step different, or a little different? Or how can you get outside of the puns and do something funny? Like maybe there's a universally relatable moment that everybody experiences, right? One of the cards I wrote a long time ago for Recycle Paper Greetings has to do with finding one last fry in the bottom of the bag. Everybody can relate to that, right? Like that's that moment you're like, yes, there's another fry, because you think you're out, so you can relate that emotion to a sentiment and then tie those two things together.
Right. I love that. Yeah. I mean, it's just such a distinct skill set, and yeah, I think it's an amazing process, and it's just so amazing to see the work resonate. I mean, when you get to that moment where you see the customer looking at it and being like, "Oh my gosh, this is the perfect card to send my friend," like, wow, I really did it.
Yeah.
So we touched on this, but I feel like when you're running your own range, with licensing work, you would have been an exclusive, but you were one of many artists, and you typically had an art director saying, okay, we need this. Okay. This is a hole. We're looking for this kind of thing. When it's your gig, you're in charge of the whole shebang. Is it harder or easier without anyone telling you what to produce? I'm sure as an artist, there are many times you felt kind of creatively constrained, like, that's off, but you're the big kahuna. So I would love to have you speak to that.
I I think there's pros and cons. Like, I think that having like, working with a big company that has like data-driven insights into what's selling and what's not, or data-driven insights into specifically what kind of content that is resonating with their audience. I think that having art direction in that context is helpful, right? Especially when you're trying to meet a need for a licensing partner. But I think that this has been like a really fun exercise in kind of like you said, like getting out from underneath the constraints that people put on what I'm going to create. And then I think about like the work that I want to create and the things I want to see in the world. And I always drew inspiration from that anyway, but what it's allowed me to do is really kind of explore my own voice in a different way and my own range in a different way. Anybody that's seen my work or that's seen my line like knows that I gravitate towards like bright colors, but like specific use of bright colors, right?
It's like a saturated palette. It's you.
Right. My overall vision for the Barone & Company brand is to include a variety of different looks and feels. So the initial offering includes like a variety of different voices, a variety of different graphic styles. Yes, I wanted the colors to be vibrant and jump off the page, but I'm not going to constrain myself to that moving forward necessarily. Like I want to start to incorporate some new characters, some new illustration styles. And, just as any licensing artist, like take a look at what's resonating in the world today and what's kind of trending, do my own spin on that look and feel if it feels like the right thing to do. So I think it's been exciting. It was a little daunting. It did take me a long time to kind of take a look at my body of work and then decide like what messages are important, like which ones mean the most to me. Right. I didn't want to launch with like 1,000 cards. I could have, but I didn't want to because, getting into this inventory-based business is a very different skill set from what I've been able to do for the past 24 years. So with the creative freedom that I now have, like there's a new set of challenges that I'm working with.
Totally. I mean, it's a huge challenge. You certainly have, the skill set. Clearly you have the creative chops and the skill set to do it, but it's a huge transition and, change is never easy. It's interesting to me. I know I brought this up when I spoke with Anna as well. When I was in Atlanta over for the market, I was going to say for break. It was not a break.
You're like, it was not a break. I was working.
When I was there over market, like a conversation with a couple makers where they were like, I work so hard on these like really, really specific cards that I really want to lift people up during difficult times. And the key accounts, the big stores come by and are looking through my line and they pass every single one of them up. They take the thinking of use. They take the very, safe, for lack of a better term, messages, which is frustrating as a creative. But, I feel like there are a lot of messaging holes sort of in the greeting card market. And so I'm kind of curious, like what you perceive them to be and which ones you aim to fill or articulate better with Barone & Company.
Well, that's tough because I think that there's so much content out there. I think that that's another challenge I think that a lot of makers and creatives have, right? It's really hard to think about like all the content with AI, with, everybody that's printing their own work. Like it's really easy to feel like overwhelmed and like, wow, every idea under the sun has been done. Right. So that's the first, that's that one side. And then the other side is, I think that I'm going to lean a little bit more towards the stuff that I wrote when I first started doing this, because that's what really created an audience for my work. I think that people, especially now with the digital world, everybody's connecting like in a digital way and how that feels like a little less personal. I think that people are craving like real connection. It's hard to connect with people in like a real way. So I think I want to speak a little bit to that, like, so with some warmer language, but not like language that's overly flowery and like weird and poetic, because that's not me either. Right.
Right. Like not clingy, but
no, not clingy. I promise I'm not stalking you, but I think that, and I think that, like a nod to humor, like, I think that people are very serious these days. When I look at the content I wrote 15 years ago or 10 years ago, like that would never fly today. And I get it. And I hear comedians say the same things, but I do think that it's really easy to take everything too seriously and to take yourself too seriously. And I think that in my own personal life, like I try and laugh and be silly. And I think there's probably not enough of that anymore. And totally. It makes me sad. Like I'm a mom to 2 teenage kids. And so I try very hard to keep like be a kid at heart, like be silly, because like the world is so serious and growing up is so serious and everything's so serious. And, I want to connect with people in an authentic way, but like I gravitate a little bit towards humor. Like I'm always kind of giggling up, one thing or another. And like, I don't want to offend anybody, but like, I think that like, so hands down, like we're an inclusive brand, like we're always going to be an inclusive brand. But what I want to do is kind of highlight some of the silly messages that can be in the world, or maybe take a new spin on some of the authentic and affectionate ways people can connect, but do it in like a more real way.
Yes.
And I think that's a really hard thing to do, especially when greeting cards, like, sometimes greeting cards only have 8 to 10 words on the front.
Right.
That's a hard message to deliver.
Right. That's
like
a hard,
really hard target to find, right? Like, and then it becomes about making a decision about what specific words I'm using and what sometimes one word can make all the difference, or sometimes the punctuation can make the difference, right? I know everybody.
And sometimes, and especially with you, with the wonderful lettering, sometimes the way it looks on the card and just lays out as a word physically and has an interplay with some of the imagery, I think resonates on like a very kind of subconscious level too.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah, it's interesting. One of the things that I think I've learned to do pretty well is there's editorial and then there's the creative, right? And I think that I can mix the two really well because I kind of wear both hats, right?
Absolutely. Thank you.
And some
You're
big
very
businesses,
deft
have
at that.
writers. Yeah, they have writers that are just doing writing. Right? Like, here are 50 ideas for writing. Like, let's pair that with creative. But because I'm creating and developing, just like a lot of small makers do, the editorial kind of along with the creative, like developing creative that supports the words in a subtle way, I think can make that message more powerful, right?
Totally.
So I'm going to be working to do that, but that's a really subtle skill set as well, right? That's one of the things that kind of I've ingrained into my work, but it's taken time and iteration over 24 years, 25 years, to do those things, right? So when somebody sees a card and they're like, well, it just says thinking of you and there's a flower. Well, sometimes like there's a lot more thought that goes into designing that specific card and the way it's laid out.
Totally. Then it would appear. I mean, and some of those cards are like bestsellers, and it's just like, what does this card have? And it's just like, it has a certain poignancy and simplicity that really speaks to someone when they're trying to find a message for their friend.
Or they may not be able to find like that specific card, right?
Right. That says, I'm so sorry you lost your job and got dumped in the same week or whatever,
I mean, that's a very specific card. The audience for that one might be smaller, but
tiny, but very, very committed.
Yes.
I wanted to talk, you touched on humor and having to be careful with it. People do get offended by the wrong humor, but it does really offer a certain catharsis that I think a lot of people would really benefit from. So it does have a place, and especially in greeting cards. I mean, these are private communications. Clearly, they have to be out in public, but these are very, private one-on-one communications. You don't want to offend anyone, but maybe as creatives in this space, we can, have a little fun with it.
I mean, I think that the kind of humor I'm going to focus on is more situational humor, right? Like we all find ourselves in like really funny situations, right? And maybe between characters, or maybe it's a shared humorous experience that we have. And I think that kind of humor and silliness can appeal to anybody, right? Without being offensive to anybody. And again, none of my humor is ever meant to be offensive to anybody. I think that early on in my career, it was really apparent to me that, not everybody's going to like every card, and some people may be offended by things that I think are funny. But like, I think in my own life and as a person, like I'm not out to offend anybody. I'm out to just be silly and trying to figure out how we can laugh together. Because I think that the world in general needs like just more light and more positivity and more silliness, because it's tough out there. So, and I think that our industry specifically can help in a way that allows people to figure out a new way to connect with people. And I think that that's what we need today more than ever.
Completely. So I couldn't agree with you more. So you launched fairly recently. Your first market was Atlanta in January on vacation. I'm curious it can be very difficult to get a brand off the ground, especially in this economy. So I'm curious, what have been your biggest wins since launching?
So, I want to say just getting through the launch and getting like all the systems in place. It was a lot, right? It's a lot to launch a brand. But I think that a huge win for us is that since we launched in January, we're already in 100 wholesale stores across the country. So
wow, that's huge.
It's huge, and we're starting to develop relationships with these like our stockists that I think that I want this business to be about relationship building. Like at its core, I want to work with positive people who resonate with the kind of work that I create, like develop a community around our just network with people that get it, that understand that we need to kind of do this in the world and that enjoy like a slightly more modern, slightly more bright, like way to communicate. And so I think it's a huge win. I'm learning. I've never had to do sales and marketing. So if anybody that's out there that's working with me, like just have patience with us. We're figuring it out as we go. But I feel like we can figure it out. Like, we're doing the best we can, like to figure out like, order management, order fulfillment, like how to market, how to communicate with like our customers. I've walked the stationery show like dozens of times, like back when it was the Javits Center, like in the, 2010, 2015, like all the different like times. But I'd never exhibited at a show before. I'd been part of a booth exhibiting, but I'd never had to exhibit at my own show before. So there's a lot of firsts that are happening for me, like as I see what it takes to be an exhibitor at a show. And it took a lot of energy and a lot of time, a lot of planning. And,
oh my God, it's huge.
It's a lot. And I think
set up.
Yeah, it's so much. And I have to be realistic about, where I am in my life. Like again, I'm a mom of two very busy teenage boys. What are the things that I can do and what can I put into this business to make it work? And where just, as a new small business owner, like obviously I still have my licensing business, but this is a different entity, like altogether. Where are my limits? Like, I think I just have to be like on a personal level. I have to keep in mind, like, what lifestyle do I want? How can I support this business in a way that it grows in a sustainable way? Like I am no longer a spring chicken. And I think I've written many cards like that, right? So like I'm in a phase of my life where I would love to be at every show, but I know realistically I can't be at every show because, my time and energy belongs to supporting my two really busy teenage boys, right? So I'm going to be at the shows when I can be there or have a presence when I can be, but I'm going to have to pick and choose like when I can actually be there in a physical way. So, and that's okay with me because I think that slow growth is the best growth. Like I'm excited to be a part of anybody's store that wants to carry our brand.
Yes.
I'm honored when anybody chooses not only my work and my words to celebrate someone in their life or to give space in their own, entrepreneurial like venture. Right? Like I'm honored and so excited to be working with so many awesome brands and stores.
Totally. Well, 100 stockists in 6 months is huge. People do not reach that. A lot of people do not reach that milestone for a long time. And I like that you're focusing on those relationships. The days of, in my opinion, the days of everybody being at every market have kind of come and gone. Even the super duper big brands, well, they might go to a few, they might have showrooms in a few, but, I would say most mid-sized brands are perfectly confident being like, you can find us here. This is where we're in person and you can shop us, 3 days a year, 6 days a year, whatever. And the rest of the time we have fair, we have our reps. I think that's perfectly acceptable. And there's a greater cognizance too that like we all have lives. Yeah. We're juggling things. I want to be present in my kids' lives and, not always be on conference calls or, whatever. And, it's a huge endeavor to start a line again in this economy. And and to be so just cognizant of every aspect and what you're putting into it. I think that's more than 95% of the launches feature. We'll be right back after this. And we're back. So I'm also curious, what card from your range is your current favorite and why?
So this is so hard. So Sarah gave me the questions ahead of time and I was like, I have no idea how I'm going to pick this because, they're all kind of like they're all my ideas and they're all kind of my children. I don't know.
No, they're all your babies.
They are. It's really hard. So I think that it's been really difficult about marketing my work over the last 24 years and really becoming visible as an artist, is that a lot of the large companies I worked with had like 18-month production schedules or 24 months. And so I never saw my latest and greatest immediately out in the market.
Yes.
Which was hard, right? Because then I went to try and market it and talk about it, but it was like a year and a half old. And I'm like, ugh, I don't like that anymore.
And by the time it comes out, you're tired of it.
Like fickle, right? Like I'm like, I liked it when I created it. It's not that I don't think it's great, but like, as a creative person, like I'm always looking at like what I'm creating now and like in the moment and trying to figure out like what I'm enjoying. So I'm going to pick like one of the cards that like literally is launching or just launched only because it's new. And it's just a good example of like a different way to say something. Like it's a get well card.
Okay.
It features, and it's probably going to be backwards, but
you being sick. Wait, I'm trying to read it. You being sick has thrown off the whole balance of the universe. Oh my God. I love it.
So, like that's just a clever way of saying, in like a deep, affectionate way. And it's a good example of like just picking 8 to 10 words and delivering a message. Like this card could say, get well soon, just like any other card that says get well soon. Right. But, like the universe stuff, like, this kind of imagery is.
Yes.
I mean, I think that, contrasty, like, this is a good example of like bright imagery kind of setting off the message. I think this is a little bit reminiscent of, ways that like I hope the line can bring like a slightly different voice to the boutique space and to the space in general, because that's, if you're looking for a get well card, that's just a really unusual way of saying it. But, in like a big way, right? It's thrown off the whole balance of the universe, says, hey, like it's really impacting me that you don't feel well. So get better soon. Right. So,
right. The butterfly effect of your illness is enormous.
Yeah. So anyway, that's not I didn't pick a favorite. I'm not going to say that's my favorite, but
it's your current.
It's a current.
Yeah. It's currently what's drawing you. But I love that the production cycle can be shorter. I worked at HarperCollins before I started working at Gibson Decorative Accessories. And the production cycle of books, like that long time, like that killed me.
It's so hard.
By the time the book came out, like I never wanted to look at it again.
This is so yesterday, and everybody's seeing it for the first time. But like you've seen it for the last 18 months years. We're like,
yes. I love the quarterly publication style because I get to work on something and it comes out. I see it, but I'm already invested in the next one.
The next thing.
And so, like, I'm building on whatever lessons I got from the previous one to move forward. But we're not going to dwell on it too much. We're always looking ahead. And I don't know, I love that sort of ebb and flow as a creative. And so, I can imagine that must be very freeing when you can design a card and see it in
like in a month or two, right? Like, as long as it takes to get back into our pipeline sales and all the things, but it's kind of fun. I think it's, allows you to be a little bit more current in a different way than you can when you're working with like an 18-month production schedules. And that just is what it is. It's a function of like larger companies with more production and more, more needs and, their pipeline's bigger and like for all the reasons, right?
And more fingers on your art. Like, someone told me that the giraffe was invented by committee and everybody feels the need to like put their 2 cents in and you end up with this, interesting being.
It's funny. Yeah. It's funny that you say that because I have experienced that in like my licensing work when there's like 10 people involved and then they all start to tweak the design.
Yes.
Away from what my original vision was.
Totally.
And I've learned to push back in a way that, is constructive, but also like, hey, that's not really what this card was about. Like, let's get back to like where we were when we started. Like now we're
totally
like, hey, this Mother's Day card was about making eye contact with your toddler and not making eye contact so they don't start crying. Not, I'm going to go in a closet and drink a bottle of wine now. Like it was about,
right. I know that's,
every mom I know, says like, don't make eye contact, right? Like, cause the minute you do, they're going to cry. And like, if you're in a play date or something. And so those are, it's just an example of editorial getting
yes,
changed, right?
totally.
But I was like, but that's not my original concept was actually this, and these are the reasons why. So
yes.
That's funny about the giraffe, though. I'm going to keep that one.
Yes. I mean, like when I used to work, we do not do production this way, but there was a time when you would do magazine production where you would physically have the proofs and they would be passed from person to person. And so you would see everybody's changes and everybody's comments. And so often I felt like people just made changes just so they would have something on the page.
So they said they made the change.
Right. And it's also, and it's a little bit of a control. There's a little control in there. And it's often not in the service of like creating the best product. It becomes something else. And so, yeah, it's very freeing to be the boss.
It's interesting that you say that. And that's one of the things I think that having such a long relationship with my licensing partners, we've been able to kind of figure out a way to collaborate to create the best product.
Yes, totally. I'm not saying all corporate people are going to change art.
But that can absolutely happen because I've been in corporate aspects, like in corporate settings where that absolutely happens. Like somebody feels like they have to chime in because they want to make sure that they were heard, but it doesn't necessarily like impact the overall good of the product or the overall good of like what's happening. Right. So, but I think that being a really transparent partner from licensing perspective, like, hey, this is what I was meeting. And this is, not being afraid to like, go to bat for yourself. Like, and, not just, oh, I got a card place. That's great. But I got a card place that's going to have my name on it. And that's going to represent my artwork and my voice. And I need to advocate for that. Right. Totally. Even if it does fit in there, so, and I think a lot of people that are just getting into licensing are just excited that they're getting something placed. But I think it's really easy to kind of get lost in that conversation.
Totally. It's very easy. Yes, I couldn't agree with you more. And it's the same with, any creative endeavor with a publication, with a piece of writing. Like it's very easy to get kind of lost in the sauce and it just gets so like,
just imagine the Kool-Aid.
I know. All right, you can do a great card on that, Vicky. Think about getting lost in the sauce. I know you can bring that.
You can take that a lot of different ways.
You could make a whole series.
Just a whole series, Lost in the Sauce.
Lost in the Sauce.
I mean, I feel like there has to be a really special like writing moment when that's happening.
So I want to talk about Instagram. Like it's a very interesting topic. I keep getting, it seems like every week I get an email from a maker who's like, I'm not going on it anymore. I've taken it off my phone. I go on it once a week to post. I don't look at it. It's just like, we're having a very interesting moment in social media right now. But you have a very interesting, just sort of experience on Instagram and social media. So your personal Instagram, which is Vicky_Barone, has over 50,000 followers. From my perspective, like you could doodle a line and you get 500 likes. I'm always in awe. Like, I mean, like the feed is incredible, but it has so much interactivity. Like, clearly you've struck a nerve. And so meanwhile, you're building your brand Insta, which is Barone & Co. I'm curious, I would love for you to speak to the value of being quote unquote Instagram famous. Like how can this sort of response build your business and can it be deceiving? Do likes always equate to brand support? Do likes always equate to sales?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I think I'm very, very far from Instagram famous. Like there are people that are like millions of followers and I'm like, hey, but I want to curtail that with like, I'm very grateful for anybody that's interested in like hearing my voice and seeing my work on social media. So thank you.
It struck a nerve. It struck a nerve.
Yeah. Well, I think what needs, I've gone down that road too, right? Like just any creative does, like, I'm just going to stop posting. Like, this isn't worth my time and energy. Like, why am I doing this? But I think that in general, like, I don't put a lot of weight in it. Like likes do not equate to business growth. Like there are a lot of really, really successful businesses that have like 1,000 followers, right? People that, are independently wealthy and they've got like 2,000 followers. Like I don't think in any way, shape or form, it necessarily translates directly.
Okay.
And then B, I mean, I think what I want my Instagram feed to be about is just about me living a creative life and about how I can develop or create imagery or messages to not only inspire other people to find a path in their life that they may want to follow. Sometimes, or maybe just laugh about something that's like absurd in some other moment where I'm like, are you kidding me right now? But so again, I think it gets into the relatability. I think it gets into like, what do people, what can help the world right now? Like really, like what kind of messages can help people share and uplift positivity in their own communities and in their own lives. And I think that that's probably what's resonating the most, as much as I have like other creatives following me, like, and I do share like, this is what a day in the life of a creative looks like.
Very fun.
It also doesn't come naturally to me at all. Like I want everybody out there to understand that like I made the decision to become a creative and change my career from engineering to being creative before social media was even around. So I didn't have an opportunity to document my journey. I didn't get to tell everybody how brave I was being. Like I did it like in the dark without, I looked up my first licensing partners in a book. Like that's how terrifyingly old, like apparently I am. Like I had my first cell phone like before social media was even around. So while I've been on Instagram, for example, since like the dawn of time, like 2014, 2015, like in that broad range of time, I don't have that many followers at all. Like there's been people that have come and gone and been Instagram famous 10 times over, like in that.
Yes. I mean, you're not Instagram. I mean, you're not a Kardashian or.
No, I'm not.
But,
I don't want to be.
But
like,
in our world, like it's it's pretty significant. There are a lot of people who would look at that and be like, why can't I have that?
Oh, and again, I don't want to minimize it at all because I think it's fantastic. Again, I'm so grateful for anybody that wants to follow along and be part of my journey and hear my story and my voice. And I just hope that what they're getting from that is, I want to be a positive voice in this world, right? Humor through. And then I want people to share those messages with other people, right?
Right.
My work has always been, before I got into doing greeting cards, like the reason why I kind of ended up on this path was that what drives my work is, that the impact it can have, like on a small and a big way, right? Like it's a big way for somebody to use my artwork to celebrate an important relationship in their life. Right? It seems small to only one person, but it's huge for that person. And I think that that's probably the messaging that resonates the most with like my Instagram followers. Like a lot of the stuff they shared are these universally positive things. Like, how can we inspire community? How can we inspire people to be better people and to be just more positive? Like there's so much negativity in the world.
Yes.
And I think that's the trap that I think a lot of people go down, right? Like I've actually, I've been there, I've stopped Instagram. I'm like, ugh, I'm so done with it.
Right.
But then I think, well, but it could be something different. Like I was in a world, like I existed in a vacuum before social media existed. So like there's all the pros and cons, right? The pro is that there are 50,000 people that want to hear what I have to say. Like it's pretty amazing. And that didn't exist before social media existed.
Yes.
Unless it was in like a big publishing where one of my cards that was published 18 months later. So there's a lot of positive things that come from it. But I think the mental health aspect of doom scrolling and negativity, I think that especially for a creative person, like if you're not really mindful of, just scrolling, like I think that it can not only suck positivity out of you, it can suck creativity out of you. It can rob you of your own inspiration. And
it's like debilitating. It like robs you of your life force.
And it's like a dark spiral.
Yeah. So you're offsetting it and it's just so authentic. Like while you were talking, I went on my phone and I opened your Instagram, which is not usually something I'll do in the middle of a podcast interview. But here's rest is strategy. You did it in a couple colorways, but like 182 people, put that to their stories. Like that's huge for them to not only be so moved by it, but to also be like, I'm
reshare it.
Right. Like I'm resharing it because I want all my friends who are doom scrolling to, have a pleasant little reminder.
Have a moment. I think that we've become like this now. And I think about I have this conversation with my children all the time, right? They're like, what was it like to grow up in the 80s and 90s? And I'm like, it was awesome. Like nobody documented any of the stuff that I did. And I don't want to know about, I don't want my kids to know about it.
I don't want anyone to know. I know. My daughter recently told me she wished she didn't have it.
Overwhelming. And I don't think that we were meant to take in so much information and synthesize and process all of the information. And I think that that's we're so just now, right? And I see it in my own kids and it worries me because, they've been robbed of the problem solving stuff that we used to have to do. Like I had an outdated set of encyclopedias the minute they were on my shelf, right? Like, I don't know, I had to look up, like, how do you say this word? No joke. I just spent 2 weeks in the wilderness with my older son, like in the wilderness with like mountain lions and horrible things. And it was amazing. I mean, it was an amazing experience. But like one of the conversations, I was with 7 16-year-old boys and like 2 other adults. And we were like for 12 days, like backpacking the wilderness. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have any technology. So
Right.
What was interesting was that they were having a conversation about like, what is the plural of cactus? Is it cactuses or is it cacti? And no joke, all week, this conversation kept coming up. And it was fascinating to me because they didn't have an answer. So they just kept debating it. And like, it turns out both are correct, like in different.
I thought it was cacti, but I love Latin. So,
I mean, but right. So, but what's interesting is that it was just an interesting, like observation. I got to see this happening and they had no way of looking up what the real answer was. So it just kept coming up. And
so they get to debate it. I think it's wonderful that you're doing that. And I think it's great when anybody can do it. I have a 19-year-old daughter and I don't want to embarrass her by speaking about her personal life, but it's definitely shaped her and her perspective on the world. And yeah, she had said, I wish I didn't, I was just talking about how my friends and I went out and had fun and did whatever. And there was no documentation except in our heads.
I saw a shirt that was like raised on hose water and neglect. Yes. It just made me laugh. So I was like, yeah, kind of. But here's the thing, like we had this freedom that I don't feel like people have anymore. Like I even don't feel like I have it. Right. And I came back from this trip feeling something I haven't felt in a long time. Like I wasn't beholden to anybody. I mean, obviously I had to survive. different set of problems, right? Like where are we camping and is it near any big animals? But it was a refreshing experience.
You're incredible that you do this. I could never.
I mean, let's be fair. I didn't know what I was getting into and I went into the Northern Tier 1, but, Philmont was like where we spent last 2 weeks hiking. What I think I realized, I literally came home and I started to simplify. Like I came home and I looked around my house and I thought, what can I get rid of? Like what's holding me back? Why don't I feel that sense of freedom when I'm here in my studio and in my house and like in my own life on a day-to-day basis, right? Like there's so many things to do and and all my to-do lists and like the things I have to do to support them and their growth. And then what can I do to support my own mental health and growth and like my own like physical needs and mental, like all the different things. And there's so many different things that we hold. It's really hard to kind of distill it back down into like what makes me feel like I've got some freedom. And sometimes turning social media off and turning my phone off and not being available 24/7 can allow me to find like a different creative space. And like, not to bring the conversation back to being creative, but
totally. No.
That I'm always trying to like hone in on, right? Like what allows me, and that took many years for me to kind of figure out like what in my own life can help me feel like, how can I get into my creative flow?
Right. Oh my gosh. That's the quest of the art. That's the $99 million question for every creative is like, how do I get into that space? How do I stay in it? How do I not get distracted? How do I not feel insecure? How do I have an original idea?
All the things, right? And I think that isolating yourself from social media can help you feel like you've got an original idea. And I'm not saying that your work may not be inspired by some of the work that you've seen. Like everybody's inspired by other work that they've seen, right? So like in that respect, nothing's new, but everything's new if you put your own spin on it. And it's the way that you see it or say it or do it or implement it. So I think that turning it all off can allow me to get out of my own head and like really get back to like what authentically do I want to say and how can I say it in a creatively authentic way that's specific to me and my voice. And it's a really hard thing to do. And that's why the rest is strategy, that the words that I put on my Instagram account generally reflect like my own journey because
they're authentic,
right? And I know that it resonates with other people because I know that we're all kind of feeling that like now. And I think it's hard to remember that we're supposed to have downtime. We're supposed to rest. We're supposed to step back from it. We can't live it and breathe it all day, every day. That's never going to be like immediately the recipe for burnout.
Right. And no one can hustle.
A lot of people, end up down that road and then they can't create it all or they turn it off completely or they're just like, bye. Now I think that it's a lot of creators are turning it off because they don't want their artwork like scrubbed by.
Well, now that's a whole, yes.
I think that's a 100% valid response, you know? So,
Yeah. Look, you got to do what you need to do to protect yourself and your work.
Yeah.
no one likes to feel like so many of us want to be entrepreneurial. Well, no one wants to feel like they're working for Instagram to create content. And that's very draining too. And just being in that rat race. And so, everybody's got to approach it in their own way, what works best for them. But there is still a lot of value. I think people do find inspiration there. They find
I am trying to show my face.
I noticed that. Good for you. I'm like trying to work up to that. It's hard.
Just so if you see my face on Instagram, know that like it really took a lot for me to put it on there.
It's so hard. I had a guest on the podcast who was like, I made a video with just me talking. And it's like the hardest thing.
It's terrifying.
There's nothing more frightening
for us. We didn't grow up doing it, right? Again, I think it's not terrifying for, somebody in their 20s. It's terrifying for us because I'm like, why does somebody care about, why am I on camera? Why does my face look like that?
Sometimes my daughter and I will watch my TikTok feed together, and sometimes we'll watch hers together. And hers is like young kids, the young girls on it. They just, they wake up camera. But
I'd be like, here I am in my workout clothes again. And look, I put some lip gloss on, ready to go.
Let me tell you about that meeting with the rep.
Exactly. So I don't know. I think that social media in general probably plays a role. I don't think it directly relates to like building a business. I think it develops an audience, right? And I think that it is a way for me to kind of test out like what may or may not be resonating with people from a messaging or graphic perspective.
Sure.
So, but it's a limited way, right? Like that audience is based on whatever the algorithm is serving one way or another. You have to remove yourself from it in a personal way.
Yes.
I think that's when you attach your own wealth,
your ego. Yes.
I think that's where you get in trouble.
Absolutely. I could not agree with you more. It's a tool, and you should not take anything too personally that happens on the tool, because it's a tool.
It's a tool.
So
pros and cons.
Yeah, exactly. So much of the industry, I'd say a significant part of the card community is heading to Las Vegas market in a couple weeks for Noted. And I will not physically see you there, but your work will be there. You are exhibiting in a showroom, Mary Hada, which is like an incredible showroom. Anybody who is walking that market, if you carry stationery in any way, shape, or form, you got to go check it out and check her array out. What are you introducing at market?
Well, so the amazing partnership with Mary Hada's team, we'll have a section in their booth with the entire line. So we launched with 160 SKUs in January, and we just added 30 new SKUs. So
wow.
200 cards. Yeah. The new launch has like 30 new, a handful of obviously this is the first time that we've been in the holiday world. So like our holiday offering will be debuted along with a handful of new holiday cards as well. And then we have some new acrylics. So it's just a really fun, I found a manufacturer. I came across it in the world. I kind of tracked them down. I think it's a really pretty product and can make like a really great memento or gift. So like the offering of those will be there. There's like a larger size and there's like a mini size.
They're very cool.
And it really creates like a cool, like modern kind of 3D effect for the artwork. So seeing those in person, I think is really important. It's hard to even capture them like for the internet.
Yes.
Instagram stuff up about it, but there's just a cool product. We're going to be probably expanding that line as well. But right now we only have 5 designs, like the large and small. So
that's big
as well. People can see them in person.
Yeah, that's 10 SKUs. I think that's amazing. And I love that. To me, they're kind of in the desk space. Like you're kind of getting into the desk space. Like I would use it as a paperweight. I always have piles of papers everywhere. And like, what a great reminder as you stare at all that uncompleted work. There's
one that just says, yay, you. It can be like a little personal like cheerleader on your desk.
Like, yay, you, throw it out. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, so it's a cool product. Like I really just kind of wanted to see like what like my artwork would look like on it. It's kind of a newer product to this space. We're going to be looking to do things in a different way. Like as we kind of grow this brand, I'm hoping to be, I don't know how imaginative or how like exciting you can be like with a greeting card, but there's a lot of interesting things that you can do. So we're going to be kind of exploring new ways to kind of deliver messages through special processes, like through different colors, through different applications of whatever. Like we're going to be just open-minded. Like I think that my overall vision for this business and for this brand is to be agile enough to develop new ideas, and learn from things that don't work and, like hone in on things that are working while staying true to the voice of the brand.
Sure. And I love that you chose, I love that you chose an object to be your first non-greeting card product. Often it's a journal or you know what I mean? Like you went in an interesting direction there.
Yeah, we'll see. I have I think it's a cool product. We'll see how it does. I have people that have carried it so far sold through like almost immediately because I think it's an unusual object. And like the first one I saw was like, well, that's kind of cool. What is that? You get to pick it up.
Yeah.
Figure it out. So we'll see. I don't know if that's like forever in our line, but it is for now, and we'll see how it goes.
We'll see. It's there for now. I think anything that takes the messaging off greeting cards and can kind of like infuse it in other areas of your life where you're going to see it as a lifestyle product, it's always super interesting. And consumers get really excited too, especially if like yours, there's only 3 words, but they're 3 amazing words and they have a great message and there's a great background and you love the color and it's all there.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. Well, I'll go. I know you will not be there, but I'll definitely go to Marietta and see and check it out.
Yeah, check it out. There'll be a whole space there. And again, I can't be there because of life.
Yeah, no. Well, you can't go to every market but
I am going to miss
place.
Seeing you. I'm going to miss seeing the entire community. I'll miss seeing anybody that's interested. If you are interested in ordering, you can order directly from Marietta. The website's available. You can reach out to us directly, whatever you decide to do.
Yeah, totally. Yes. All roads lead to, if you're interested in the product, there's a million ways to do it. Anyway, I always close with your notes. I've switched up the format just a little bit and I ask guests to share a memorable card or letter they received, just the first one that comes to your head. So let's hear yours and the circumstances around it. I have a feeling it's going to be good.
Well, it's kind of a story. So if anybody's read my bio, they know that I didn't start like in the greeting card world. I have like 2 engineering degrees. Like I made some really scary career jumps, like in the beginning. I worked in the corporate world for like a hot minute. Like I worked at like this really amazing startup where I was surrounded by lots of entrepreneurial people. And then I branched off and started my own business. And then the greeting card, like licensing was always kind of in the background and then eventually shifted completely into that. But I want to say it was like maybe 4 or 5 years after like I had decided that I was just going to do cards. So I want to say it was like maybe 2010 or something. Mm-hmm. A colleague of mine that I hadn't heard from in like over like 5 or 6 years reached out to me on Facebook. Yes, I know Facebook. I'm old. Like my
I'm still on Facebook. I'm still on Facebook. I don't care how much my kid mocks me.
It's still on Facebook. So somebody reached out to me. Again, this is 2010, right? So I'm going to show you a really old card. He reached out and he said, "Hey, look, I know we lost touch, but I wanted to reach out because this amazing thing happened." He lived in Baltimore at the time and he bought a Mother's Day card for his mom who lived in Chicago. And he has a brother who also bought a Mother's Day card for their mom and he lived in San Francisco. And they sent the Mother's Day cards to Chicago. And they both chose my card. Oh. And so he sent me a picture of his mom holding up the 2 cards from the sons on either coast. And then he looked at the back of the card and was like, "Oh my God, I know her." Oh my gosh, I have no idea where you gone or what you were doing. Like I wanted to share that like my brother and I both picked the exact same Mother's Day card and it was your card. So he was just like, "I think it's so cool what you're doing." Anyway.
That's amazing.
2010. So it's a cool story, right?
It's amazing. It's amazing.
And it was so cool to hear from him. We reconnected too because of this, right? And he was like, yes. "Holy, what are you doing now?" So
you're not engineering anymore?
No, not engineering, not anymore. So anyway, it was a recycled paper greetings card. And it's such a simple card. But again, you can't, like, this is fickle Vicky.
No judgment.
But, today you're the queen.
No, that's very 2010, but it's also
it's very 2010, right? I was like, oh, that's very 2010. So when I pulled it today, I was like, do I want to show that?
Yes, yeah, no.
But I do because I think that was very 2010 and it was a card that sold really well. I think it's a card that could still sell really well and given the right audience, right? But I think it's a really interesting and fun story. And I've had a lot of people that have reached out like over time, people that I knew in like my previous kind of career life that said, wait, what are you doing now? But then they're like, holy crap, that's so neat. Like, look what you're doing. Right.
Right.
I mean,
right.
And it's not that I enjoyed every second of learning about engineering and how to solve problems. And I think that all of those skill sets 100% are still applicable to like me being in business since, for over 20 years. And
absolutely. I mean, engineering is understanding how things work, and problem solving and getting on the other side is something, I mean, that's going to apply everywhere,
absolutely. Even now, like I'm building a new business, I'm trying to figure out new technology. Like I'm not afraid of the technology. I'm going to roll up my sleeves and figure it out. I may not get it right from the beginning, but I'm going to try and figure it out and like develop the processes and optimize. And like, my left side of my brain is still working and very functional, and still like my left and right brain still fight with each other a lot. Right. So, but I think it's been a fun journey to kind of figure that out though. And I think that, I don't know, it's just kind of a cool, it's cool. I wouldn't change like anything about my journey, because as terrifying as it was to make some really scary decisions early on, and it continues to be in different ways, like this new initiative, like starting a business. I had a colleague say, wait, what, you're starting a business in this economy? What? I mean, and I'm not gonna lie, it's challenging for sure. Like, but
yeah, of course it is.
I believe that there's still like a place for this kind of business in the world. So
there is, and the creative lifestyle is not an easy one. Like, I mean, if you choose to be a writer, an actor, an artist, whatever, it's not an easy life. And in terms of, I mean, people love it, people love what you put out there, but it's just not very like culturally recognized as important. And it clearly is.
And that I think is what like I can bring to this world, right? I can bring like some data-driven knowledge about like a message that sold really well, like in 2010. Will it still sell well? Yeah, that's still a message that people would enjoy hearing.
Right. And everyone wants to be the queen, even for one day.
Even if it's just one day, right? It can be presented in like a funny way. It can be presented in like a more painterly way. It can be just like in a more like trendy, like now kind of way. But even if you change a couple of the words, but the message is the message, right? It makes the person feel really special for that day.
Right. Totally. And it's, like when you showed that card with the universe, your current favorite, it's like a little unexpected and a different way of saying something that really creates that like wow moment when it's taken out of the envelope and, and
that's that weird, really hard, like target to hit. So we'll see. I'm sure that we're going to try and hit that target. I'm sure we'll miss sometimes, but it's going to be iterative. We're going to see like what's resonating, what isn't, and, continue to grow the line and try and stay agile enough to kind of evolve and grow as I've been able to do throughout my entire career. Right. Figure it out. So,
oh my gosh. Yeah.
It's fun. It's challenging.
It's fun.
It's terrifying, but it's fine. It's all fine.
Right. It's all fine. No, and you'll be in a totally different place in even 2 weeks and 2 months. Like
I have another card to show you that's going to
be fine. Let's see.
I'm fine. We're fine. Everything is fine.
That's really nice. Oh,
I'm fine. We're fine. Everybody's fine. Everybody's just trying to make it. Everybody's just trying to make it like through the day and through life and figure out the best way to do it. Right.
Someone asked me like, how's your anxiety? And I was like, well, I'm just getting through one situation at a time. And I feel like that's pretty much everyone.
I'm treading water, keeping my head above, like maybe like some days not, some days yes. I mean, I think that we do the best that we can with what we have, where we are. I mean, I think that that's like really cliched, but I think it's true.
Well, I cannot thank you enough for coming in the paper fold. Can I speak? This has just been such a wonderful chat, and I so appreciate it. We're recording super early because I'm having work done in my home. You were totally accommodating. I cannot thank you enough.
Sarah, I'm so honored to be here, and I always love connecting with you. And I thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to have this chat and meet your audience. Hey, everybody.
Yes. And please find Vicky where, it might be in your nearest card rack. It might be on your Instagram, but, find Vicky, bring her into your life and bring her into your friends' lives. I promise you won't be sorry.
Oh, thanks, Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you so much again, Vicky. It was such a pleasure to see you when I will only see your work
Noted. Finally, thank you for listening and for listening this far. Of course, feel free to give me a 5-star rating and review if you are so inclined. It will help new paper nerds find us. The Paperfold is proud to be a member of the Evergreen Podcasts Network. To learn more about this dynamic, incredible community, please visit evergreenpodcasts.com. Thank you so much, nerds, and please stay safe out there.